everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making cauliflower cheesy muffins. I'm making them from the Plant Paradox cookbook. However, I'm going to add a couple things, throw in some surprises for you. With that, let's do this. So these muffins take a while to make, but what I'm going to do, since they take so long to make, is we're going to meal prep them so that we can have one each day rather than having to stop at the gas station and grab a breakfast taco. It's a much healthier substitute. Alright, so anyways, what we have to include with this is we have to add, what we're going to use, a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, which actually I'm just going to put as much as I possibly can on it. We're going to use some cauliflower, and I actually have these 2 bags of cauliflower here that I get from Costco. They're rice cauliflower, so rather than having to, cut up florets and throw them into a food processor, this is a much easier process to go through. And we're going to double it up. Also, we're going to add about a teaspoon of iodized sea salt. We're also going to add a little over a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. We're going to add half a teaspoon paprika and a teaspoon of dried basil. Now, since I'm doubling this recipe, I'm going to be adding 6 omega-3 pastured eggs. After that, I'll be adding a 1/4 cup of cassava flour. And to the cassava flour, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of aluminum-free baking powder, so that way it can cook cohesively. And to top it all off, I will be adding a dash of sriracha paste. I almost forgot that I will also be adding Parmigiano Reggiano to this recipe. Okay, so I'm using an electric stove, so first thing first is that you're going to want to set your heat to above medium high heat. And I'm using a stainless steel pan. So what I'm going to do, since I got my olive oil ready, just going to start adding it, just a little bit, and then throw in my bags of cauliflower. Alright, so while that's cooking, go ahead and add some more olive oil, as much as you desire, so that way this can get nice and coated. And then just mix all that in. Okay, so once your cauliflower rice is starting to cook, what you're going to want to do is lower your heat and start throwing in your spices. So I'm going to start with the salt, the garlic powder, paprika, and the dried basil. And just make sure that it gets very well incorporated into the cauliflower. So it's going to take a long time for the cauliflower rice to cool down. So what you're going to want to do immediately is take it off of the heat, and then give it about 15 minutes or so for it to kind of cool down for a bit. Because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add eggs to it, and if you add eggs right away, what's going to happen is you're going to have, well, essentially, you're going to have fried rice. You don't want fried rice. So just let it cool down for a bit so that way you can add eggs and it'll be more cohesive whenever you bake it. So you're going to set your oven to 375 and let it preheat. Alright, so one thing I like to do in order to make this cool down a little bit faster is I'm going to transfer this into a large bowl. Alright, so now we're just waiting for our cauliflower rice to cool down. So during that process, what you can do is you can air fry your bacon, and once it's completely air fried, which only takes about 9 minutes or so for your bacon to air fry in the air fryer. Once that's done, you're going to want to chop it up into little pieces, as small as you possibly can, because you're going to be throwing these pieces into the mix. As well, you're going to also want to cut some broccoli. If you want to add broccoli to it, you don't have to. But to add the broccoli, though, you have to cut that into very small pieces as well. So if you look what I'm doing here, I'm cutting off most of the stalk and just adding, the heads of the broccoli for the most part. What you're also going to want to do is you're also going to want to take the time and grate all the cheese. So for this I'm using about a full cup of cheese. Actually, it's Parmigiano Reggiano, which is a really healthy cheese. So once you have your bacon and your broccoli cut up, what you can go ahead and do is you can start mixing it into the cauliflower rice. It's going to be a little bit hot, but that's perfectly fine. You just want to kind of mix it around so that way it can let out some of the heat and make it cool down faster. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add into a small bowl half a cup of cassava flour. You're also going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And you're going to want to mix all that in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my Parmigiano Reggiano. And just make sure you get that mixed in very thoroughly. Make it nice and cheesy. And since we got time, you're going to want to set your muffin tins, your parchment into your muffin tins. And I like to go with quite a few here because, we're meal prepping this. Now that the cauliflower rice is cool, I'm adding my eggs. These eggs are actually from a farm. These are farm-raised eggs. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mix these in. Very thoroughly. Get the mixture in. Make sure everything is nice and coated. So if you have to, you can add more eggs. Obviously this needs more eggs. So I'm going to add one. We're going to see what that does. So you want to be able to pour this into your muffin holders. Your parchment. Right now that's looking pretty good. I think I used enough egg. And now we fold the ingredients. So we're going to add the cassava flour and the baking powder. Fold that into the mixture. So now we can start adding our mixture into our little muffin holders. Make sure you get some broccoli in these.
They're called cupcake holders.
Oh, you can start adding your mixture into your cupcake holders. Okay, so now these are ready to pop into the oven. Alright, so that's it. They're done. And they look pretty good. You want to try. See if it's tasty. Got some cauliflower in there, some bacon, and it's all mixed in really, really well. It's good. It's really good. Alright, so if you like what you see here, be sure to leave a thumbs up, like and subscribe. Catch you in the next one. One thing I forgot to add is some sriracha paste. So I'm going to go ahead and do so now. You're going to make mistakes along the way, there's no shame in it. Just take your mixture and put it back in there.
Why don't you just fill the rest?
No.
Those things are expensive.
Nah. Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, just continue filling the rest.